Hey there! How's everyone doing? Let's see who's in the chat already. Who was first? First was someone named Cameron Beck, who said, and I quote, "Chat." Very insightful. Next after that, we had Kai come in. Welcome. Let's see. Fisho, Leli, Nexz Forever, Fabiola, Keith. Hey, Keith. See if I recognize anyone else. Jihoon Lee, Sai Tonga, and Claire. Welcome. How's everyone doing today? We'll get started right at the top of the hour, and I'm gonna let you guys know we're gonna end today by 4 o'clock. Although the lesson's only gonna take an hour. The lesson I'll try to have finished by like 3:20. We'll start right at 2 o'clock. Hopefully we'll finish at like 3-ish. But there's really a lot of stuff we're gonna be covering today. I'm gonna let you know. Some of my lessons I can do in like 30 minutes. It's just one topic and a bunch of example sentences. This is not one of those lessons. This is one of those lessons where you really get down and dirty and you learn like 10 different things, kind of like last Sunday's lesson where we learned about how to say and with that had so many different forms. Well, this lesson is kind of like that. In order to say before and after, there are a bunch of different things we have to learn. Now, I'm not going to be going over every single one of those, or else this would be ridiculously long. I do have an upcoming lesson I'll be working on, which will go into all of them. But for now, for today, we're going to be learning, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 concepts that I've condensed into about 5, 6 sections. So it's a lot. We've got a lot to do today. But hopefully I should be able to get it all done in just over an hour. But we'll be done before 4 o'clock. Why? Because I want to watch the Oscars. At least I want to watch a little bit of it. I won't be able to watch all of it because I'm actually going to be editing this video as soon as it finishes. So I have to upload that tonight. Usually about 3 hours after the live stream ends, I have the abridged version uploaded on my channel for members to watch in advance. Everyone else gets access to it usually around Wednesday later in the week. But I also want to try to watch a little bit of the Oscars, at least maybe catch about 20 minutes or so of it here and there while I'm doing editing. So I want to try to finish before 4. So that's my goal for today. Kai. Yes, the new cheat sheets. And you also, Kai noticed the origami as well as Keith. Yes, so there's a story about this. Jeremy made it. Jeremy is, Jeremy, those of you who don't know, Jeremy's my kid. He's bilingual. He's been in several videos before. You can search him on my channel and find videos we've done. And about 10 minutes before I was starting my lesson, he's like, wait, I want to put something on your lesson. You can share it with your subscribers. They'll love it. I'm like, okay. And he's like folding something. He finishes this little origami crane. So he's like, I think you can show this and I think they'll like it. So I put it up here. So there it is. That's why it's here. I don't know how long it'll stay there. If I don't need the space, I'll keep it up here for the lesson. Right now it's kind of resting on the eraser. Let's see. I think it's probably what it'll end up looking like today if I have to move the eraser. But for right now, we'll keep it on the eraser. Just for a little bit. Let's see. There we go. Okay. I only want to watch the Oscars for Conan. Yeah, you and me both. Someone's asking, who is your BTS bias? I don't have a bias in any group, but I have what I would call just my favorite member. But I don't really call him a bias because I feel like a bias is when you're a fan of the group. Like you listen to them a lot. You're really into them. You know their music. You know all the I won't say characters, all the performers, and you pick your favorite of them, and then that's your bias. I feel like if I've researched a group completely outside of their discography and only about their language, I don't feel right saying I have a bias so much because it's like I don't know their music. But my favorite member was Jin when I was doing the video series for BTS. That was a while ago though. But yeah, I picked Gene as my favorite member. But like I said, it's not like he's my bias. I didn't really know any of their music. I still don't know many of their songs. But yeah, when I was researching them, he was the one that I found probably the funniest. Him and J-Hope I like the most. Oh, Ministry of Moon. Hey, welcome. And yeah, we have some cool things for today. Also, if you didn't already, make sure to get my free new cheat sheets. I have 2 more. In fact, one of these especially is going to be really useful for today's lesson, because in order to use the topic, one of the topics for how we're going to be saying after doing something requires knowing how to change an action verb, so like whatever it is that you did, into an adjective. So you're going to say, like, for example, hada, to do. In order to make it into a sentence that says after I did, you need to be able to change do, to do, hada, into an adjective. In this case, it'll become han. And there are lots of rules for doing that and lots of exceptions. Every tense is different. So this cheat sheet has present tense, past tense, and future tense, as well as the ton tense, which is not really a full separate tense, but it kind of works like that. And all the exceptions you need to know. There aren't that many exceptions, but there are several that are fairly common. So yeah, this has every single one of them. And yeah, it's here, past tense, standard form, hada, han. There you go. So you can use this to look up any verb you want. And yeah, these are also free. I just released them a few days ago, and I have some more also coming up as well. I have 4 more that are going to be coming up probably next month and the month after that, or a couple next month. You'll see a couple more coming up soon. Yeah, make sure to get those. They're also free, as well as the previous 6 cheat sheets I also released for free. They're all on my Patreon. You can get them right now. And I say free because they're actually free. There are high definition versions on Patreon if you pay, which are, if you just wanted to print it out at like a poster size, you'd probably want the high quality versions, but the regular definition versions are fine to print out exactly what you just see. So a full piece of paper, no problem. But if you wanted to print like a giant poster on your wall, or you just want to support me, then those are for the paid version, and those start from just $1. Yes. So let's see, what other announcements do we have? Okay, and I'll make these announcements again, but also next Sunday, there is no live class, but I'll probably do a bonus live stream. So you might still see me next Sunday. It just won't be with a lesson, because I only want to do 2 in a row and then take 1 off. That way I have more time to work on my other projects as well. But yeah, you'll probably still see me next Sunday. It just won't be a regular class. And then after that, we'll do regular classes again. Oh, and daylight savings time starts this coming Sunday, 1 week from today. So that means the time may change depending on where you are. Now I'm in Los Angeles, California. So for me, the daylight savings means that I get 1 less hour of sleep, right? Yeah, I think that's why I lose an hour of sleep. But for Korea, it means it's later? I actually don't know. I think, no. I think it's even earlier for Korea. Yeah. It becomes earlier, an hour earlier for people in Korea. And depending on what country you are, it might change or it might not change. So just keep that in mind, that time will change by 1 hour. Again, it does this twice a year. So that'll be on this coming Sunday. But again, this coming Sunday will not be a regular class. It'll be probably just a regular, like a Q&A, or we'll practice. I'll figure out something that we can do to practice together. Erica asks, what's your Patreon handle? You know, I think it's Go Billy Korean. I haven't checked it, but I think it's Go Billy Korean. Let's see. Do I have the thing here? Let me check. Yes, I do. I'll put a link to my Patreon in the Discord. In the Discord, in the chat. So that's my Patreon page, and in a bit you'll see a link to my Discord channel as well, where you can hang out with other people right now who are also learning Korean. So any questions before we get started? I do see some new people here I've never seen before. Metric says, same in Sweden. We're currently 1 hour, but it'll change to 2. Interesting. Cosma, it says in Romania, it changes on the 29th of March. Oh, okay, so you have it, but it's a different time. I kind of wish they got rid of it. Like, I wish that this time it would change and then it would never change again. Like, I want permanent daylight savings time, if that makes sense. I think for time-wise, for daylight-wise, it's the best. So I'm happy that it'll change. I don't like when it keeps changing. I like when it's what it's going to be. That's the best time, I think, as well as for if you have friends in Korea also, that's the best time. It's like it helps you an extra hour with matching times together, communicating with friends in Korea. So yeah. Lim says the ton grammar is so confusing. Yeah, I kind of agree. Which is why the cheat sheets I released, they have both types of verbs with both ton and past tense ton in them. So here, for action verbs and for descriptive verbs. Now, most people actually, I would say most people, including most Korean learners, including most fluent speakers, I'll say, actually don't know about this. It's not a diss. It's just because it's usually not taught, but using ton is also used for descriptive verbs, which I think most learners don't know. But yeah, it's here for both of them, for action verbs and descriptive verbs. Very simply explained. You can see there's one sentence about how to use both of them. That's how simply it is. But that's actually how simple they are to use. So yeah, there's a little illustrative diagram. We'll also talk about that a little bit today during the lesson. Not quite this exact same thing, but there's another concept that we're going to be doing today that kind of works like that. Okay. Lexica. Welcome, Lexica. Keith says, for sure, I just want it static. Yeah, me too. I don't like having to change all the clocks, feeling bad because you have to wake up an hour early, or even when you get that extra hour of sleep, you can't enjoy it, right? Because you still wake up at the same time you normally did, but now you're expected to wake up at that later time. So it's like, what, at best, you get like one day where you get an extra 20 minutes of sleep. But at worst, when it switches back, you feel like dead because you just lost a whole hour of sleep. It feels like you didn't even sleep the night that it switches. Fabiola says, I'm new and I don't know much about Korean. Well, you should probably start with my beginner course, which is free. You can find it on my channel. That'll start you from pretty much zero, from having no knowledge of Korean. So through the alphabet, conjugation, making sentences, and basic conversation, all that stuff. It's 100 episodes, completely free, and it's on my channel. Lady Natbug says, California wants it to stop, but the higher ups have taken no action. Yeah, we actually did vote that made it okay for them to vote to get rid of it, right? That's what happened. We all voted on it, and we all said, okay, now we agree we should get rid of it, but we didn't decide whether we're going to get rid of it happening or make it permanent, right? I think it should be permanent, the daylight savings time, always on, but there's no consensus of that, and they haven't put another vote that we could pick which one we want, but everyone's in agreement that we don't want it anymore, at least. Metric says, I watch your videos, but I try to catch these lives whenever I can. Nice. Sammy Head says, good morning from Pyeongtaek. Oh, are you in Pyeongtaek? Are you at like the military base over there, or are you just living in Pyeongtaek for no other reason? I know that there's like is that Osan, I think, the military base over there near Pyeongtaek. Sammy Head, thank you. Sammy Head's our first supporter today. Really appreciate it. Oh, whoa, K-I-L-E-D. Wow, K-I-L-E-D. I don't think I've seen you here before. Have you watched any of my streams before? Just started learning recently and just started learning recently. Well, welcome. I am a Korean teacher on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. I'm curious to know, asks Kai or KI Led, if you'll do a series on N-. Is this a bribe? I feel like it's a bribe. They have 3 foreign members from US, Australia, and Japan. No pressure though. To the person who pays $50 donation. I understand. Thanks for the lesson. I'm learning quickly thanks to you. Thank you. I haven't yet decided the next group that I'm doing because I'm still currently finishing up the ATs videos, which you'll see the next one coming up this week. It's going to be Uyang. although I didn't pick him as my favorite member, he was my favorite video to film. So yeah. And everyone who knows ATs already knows what I'm talking about. And then there's one more will be 2 weeks after that, which will be the final member, Jongho. And then the series is over. And then if I have time before I go to Korea at the toward the end of May, then I will try another series, but I'm not sure. I might have to wait until after I get back from Korea in August. So I'll probably make a vote for what group I should do, but I don't know. I don't know what group I'm going to do. I have no idea. I thought it was going to be a certain group the last time, but everyone voted someone else. And then the time before that, I thought it would be a different group and everyone voted for someone else. So I never know who people are going to pick for the next group that I analyze. But I don't know anything about Enhypen. How many members do they have? Just that they have 3 foreign members. Lala Sky says, Ijeon versus Chun. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to make it super simple. Erica says, this is my first live class. Welcome. You're taking Korean online classes twice a week, but I wanted extra practice. Great. I learned the alphabet with your videos. Cool. Sammy had said yes on the military base. Cool. Yeah, I had a friend who was there actually for a while. I went to elementary school with this kid and knew him all my life, and then was in Korea, and he's like, hey, you want to meet up? I'm like, okay. So we met up in Suwon actually, because he came up from there. But yeah, it's a nice area. I mean, it's kind of like there's not too much stuff out there, but there's still a lot of stuff out there because of the military base. Kyled said, I watched last week's stream. Okay. Maybe I just didn't remember your name from there. Why does your icon though look like Gandalf? Kyled. It's like Gandalf, but female? I don't know. And you say it's not a bribe. All right. I understand. Other than streams, I've been watching your videos for the last 4 or 5 months. Okay, nice. Sai Tonga says, please no more K-pop. Well, they get views. So what am I'm not going to not make them. People like them and they're related to Korean and they help people to get interested in Korean. So as long as I'm not uploading them every week, I don't mind. I think they're fun to make every once in a while. I'll do 1 series, maybe 2 series a year and upload them every other week or every 3 weeks or something like that. So it doesn't take over the channel. It's not a K-pop channel. It's a Korean learning channel, but you still need to have throw out some bait. You got to catch some people who might not be interested in learning Korean and they might watch those videos and they might think, I kind of should learn Korean. Yeah. So that's the idea behind the K-pop or Korean music artist analysis series. And I think it's been working okay and I have fun making them. Especially when the members are fun. That's when I have fun, is when it's like a goofy member. Kai says, my chats aren't sending for some reason. Oh, let me check. You sent a donation. I didn't even get that. Let me check. Let me check right now. Kai, you did. Thank you, Kai. Kai sent, actually, you're right. It was 13 minutes ago. Kai may have been the first person to donate today, but I didn't get your message. Thank you so much, Kai. Kai sent over $5 directly to my Patreon. Just cool. But I don't know why it wasn't sending your message. Wait, hold on. Kai also said, it was a thank you to Jeremy. Is this another Jeremy thing? Is this more donation for Jeremy? He was so happy last time because a lot of people donated and they said, give this money to Jeremy. They said, Billy, your mortgage, your electricity bills, your gas bills, your health insurance, all those can wait. Jeremy needs some money for buying Minecraft stuff. So he got, I don't remember how much he got, but anyway, he had enough to pay us for his Nintendo Switch Online subscription for another year. So he was super happy about that. And right now he's saving up to buy something called like a Buddha's hand fruit. It's like a citrus fruit. I have no idea. It looks kind of like weird, like a hand. So it's called like Buddha's hand. I don't know what it is, but he saw it at the grocery store the other day and he's like, I have to buy that. And it's like $8 or something to buy. So he's saving up for that right now. But yes, I will give Jeremy your donation and let them know it came from chat. Thank you. Lexica says, totally here for the K-pop videos. Nice. Gabby says, I met you because of the ATs videos. Okay, nice. Ariane says, your Stray Kids videos. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did those a while ago. That was, Kai says, YouTube's retaliating because I switched to PayPal. I don't think it's that. Sometimes YouTube can be weird and just not show comments for whatever reason. We spoil our internet nephew. Yeah. Yeah, the Stray Kids and Twice, and I did a couple other series like that early before I figured out the formula I wanted to use. Now I prefer doing the way that I have it right now, where each member gets an individual video, and I cover all of them, including whether they're a native English speaker or not. They all get their own separate video, and I cover them separately. So that's kind of the formula I'm doing right now with the ATs videos, and it'll probably continue for the next group, whoever it'll end up being. Not a monkey paw, I hope. Yes. Yeah, so we'll get started with the lesson in just about 5 minutes. If anyone's here right now, you're a little bit early. We always start the lesson a little bit right at the top, but I always start it early just to kind of hang out, make sure everything's working correctly. Sometimes I'll start the stream and like I forgot to turn on my microphone or something's not working right. So this just gives us time to relax before we just jump right into the lesson. Again, if you haven't already heard, these are the prerequisites for today. You want to know how to use the past tense because we're going to be saying after doing something, and it's like past tense after having done something. So you want to know how to make the past tense. You also want to know how to change action verbs into adjectives. Although if you don't know this, I'm going to cover it together. I was trying to say together again today. Doesn't make any sense. You're going to cover this again today. So don't really worry about it. But if you already know it, this will save you some time. And then also using the key form after action verbs. So like hada becomes hagi. That's it. I just explained how it works. But if you're already familiar with this, it'll help make a little bit more sense when we're talking about it. So these are all the prerequisites. But again, if you don't really know them, at least know how to make past tense sentences. Otherwise, you won't be able to even use what we're going to learn today. It is a beginner level lesson, but if you are intermediate level, I'm pretty sure you don't know how to use ijan and ihu. So you're going to learn something today anyway, even if you're intermediate level. So don't worry, there's something here for everyone. I try to do that with all my lessons, even my advanced level lessons. I think I just spit on my microphone. Even my advanced level lessons, I try to make simple enough that beginners can follow along. And my beginner level lessons, I try to put some advanced material in it. So there's always going to be a little bit of something for everyone, no matter what your level is, assuming at least as long as you know the alphabet. Lady Natbug says, Buddha's hand is very good as a marmalade or candied. Well, what do you do with it then? If Jeremy buys this Buddha's hand citrus fruit, what is he going to do with it then? Mom asks, my aunt suggested I first become an English teacher in order to get into Korea to begin with, and then try to work up from there to get into the music industry. Would you also suggest that? Yeah. Like, realistically, there's only one job that Korea wants to hire you for. And I'm saying you, I'm referring to every single person who's a native English speaker and not a native Korean speaker. There's one job that they want you for and nothing else. English teacher. Well, okay, there is something else. Like I said this before, but if you're a skilled, like a programmer, if you're good at developing programs, then they might want you still because you could be really good and worth the extra money that they're paying to sponsor your visa. Otherwise, no, they want an English teacher. That's it. So if you speak English natively, go over there, be an English teacher, at least as a way to get your residence card, as a way to get kind of established there. You'll have a place to stay. You'll meet people. You'll have connections. And then after your contract ends and you decide, oh, I don't know if I want to renew it here. I want to renew it at a different place. Then maybe if you've, through one of the connections you made, maybe you can try to move into some other industry. That's a possibility as well. Yeah, but most people end up doing English teacher not because they don't really care what they're doing, but because that's really the only option you have. There is another option though, I guess, if you find a startup company. Sometimes startups will hire foreigner, like I say foreigners, so non-Koreans, for their companies, but the reason is the same. It's because they want someone who speaks English. And sometimes the pay there is even less than what you would get as an English teacher. So if you're already kind of like financially okay and you don't really need the money as much, maybe that's another option you can try. Just work for a startup company in Korea, which would pay, they'd sponsor your visa so you can stay over there, but then you're not an English teacher. But I don't have any experience with doing that. I know some people who've done that. I don't know if that's a recommended way to go over to Korea if you're okay with that. Kai, new donation made. Kai, you're not supposed to donate, Kai. You're not supposed to donate that often. There's a rule. Thank you, Kai. Okay, I'm gonna keep it separate though. Let's put B for Billy and J for Jeremy. So Kai has donated some money to Jeremy, so Jeremy's gonna be happy about that, and also to me, so we can pay for Jeremy to keep existing in this apartment, and you know, with his toys and all these nice things that he has, like electricity and running water. Thank you, Kai. I would let Jeremy know right now, but I know for a fact right now he is playing Minecraft with one of his friends, and he wouldn't care if I told him. He would be like, okay, but if I tell him after, he'll be like, so I'm going to wait until after, so he'll pay attention to what I say. Rules are made to be broken. Orion says, break off the fingers and eat them like horrible acidic carrots. Are they that bad? Are they that bad? So in the end, it's all for Jeremy. It kind of is. I mean, in the end, all of the donations I make and books I sell and all of that, it really just funnels down into Jeremy. Because I mean, like, I'm an adult. We don't do cool things anymore. That's for kids. You know, kids get toys. I don't get toys. If I get a new computer, it's because I need it for editing. It's not for playing Minecraft. So yeah, it kind of all funnels down in some way. It all trickles down into Jeremy. Yes. All right. Lady Netbug says, use the zest. Okay, I have that. Microplane, I have that. Added to dishes like salad, desserts, marinades, or drink. Desserts, okay. You know what? I just had an idea. Since you said use the zest, I just had a crazy idea for what you could do with the Buddha's hand. You can make Buddha's hand citrus flavored scones. I kid you not. My wife makes an insanely good lemon scone. And she has a really good recipe, and it uses, of course, lemon juice and lemon zest. They're so good. I can maybe see if she can adapt that into the Buddha's hand citrus. I'm curious what the flavor is, though. It says you can also candy the peel for a sweet treat or infuse it in alcohol to make a liquor. Okay. Candy it. Basically, that means it's not sweet in itself. So you need to add sugar to it. So then let's see, what else could you do with it? You could just eat it with sugar. I think though, yeah, maybe boiling it up with some sugar and reducing it down to make kind of like a candy could work as well. But I think the scone idea, I like the scone idea, because then you could juice it and get the zest and then make that flavored scones. I think that sounds really good to me. Okay. All right. Sorry for going way off topic. Jeremy was saying he wants to buy some Buddha's hand citrus randomly just because he saw it at the grocery store and it looked weird, but he wants to buy it. So he's saving up. So that's what that whole conversation was about. So let's get started with our lesson. Okay. I shouldn't use red. We're going to be learning about how to say before and after. And there are a lot of things we have to learn. It's not just one word like in English, or two words. Kind of, don't mind this. This is something Jeremy made. He wanted to Jeremy wanted to show this off, so he made this little origami crane. So I'm just leaving it up here during the lesson. Don't let it bother you. Okay, so you need to learn 2 words, first of all. That's the word 전, which means before, and 후, which means after. And there's one thing you should know about these. These are not grammar. These are not particles. These are very boring, everyday nouns. Just like the noun 사과 for apple. It's just a regular noun. What can you do with an apple? You can eat it, you can throw it. The apple, you can describe it, right? You can do things to it. That's these. These are just regular nouns. So know that first. These are not special nouns. These are regular nouns. 전, before, and 후, after. So how can we use them? Well, you can use them after another noun to say before that noun. So if you have noun A, and then you say 전, it means before noun A, or 후, after noun A. And this noun that you use it after can also be any noun, but it's used to represent a time. By that I mean, noun A, whatever you use it after, this can be just an amount of time. Like let's say 3 years, 3년 전. Now we have before 3 years, or we might say 3 years ago. 3년 후, after 3 years. So it could be just a direct amount of time, or it can be another noun, any noun that takes place at a time. For example, 수업, class. 수업 is the word for class, so you can say 수업 전, before class. So when did you meet 철수? Well, that was 수업 전이었어요. It was before class. Or it was 수업 후. Or maybe a meeting, a conference, anything like that. A noun that means the time something happens, or just a time itself, plus 전 or 후, before or after. That's all there is to using this with other nouns. Now, I said these are regular nouns, so they work just like regular nouns, but because they mean the time before or after, you also optionally can add the particle 에 after 전 or 후. So you can say, for example, before we had, so for example, like if you say 3 years, you can say 3년 전 means 3 years ago or before 3 years, but you could, if you're using this as the time when something happens, so if you're using an action after this, for example, I studied Korean, 한국어 공부했어요. So you can optionally add 에 after 전 or 후 whenever you're using it with an action. So whenever you're using this to describe when something happens, optionally you can add 에. But I said optional, so you could say 3년 전에 먹었어요. I ate 3 years ago. Maybe you're like Gandhi's ancestor or something like that. Or if you wanted, you could just say 3년 전 whatever, 먹었어요. Most of the time though, although this is optional, most of the time you're going to add it. So anytime you're using this or this with an action to say that something happened a certain amount of time or something before or after, you're going to be adding this most of the time. So it's optional, but most of the time you're going to add it. Now, when it's not added, tends to be like written, like official things. You might see it not used, but most of the time it's going to be there. So I recommend just always adding it. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to leave this up for just a second. There's one more thing I need to tell you about these before we go on to some examples. And then we'll talk about how to use them with verbs, which is also really common. Okay, that's enough free time. All right, so there's one more thing that you need to know about these. I also said that these were all nouns. I said that these were both nouns. So because they're nouns, you can also add other particles or markers to these. For example, what if you wanted to describe 3 years ago? Well, if ago or before is a noun, then you can just describe it by attaching the particle or a marker that you want. So if you wanted to say like 3 years ago was better, you're describing the time 3 years ago, then you can say like 3년 전이 좋았어요. So 3 years ago, 좋았어요, was good. So now you can describe it. Or I want to forget 3 years ago. You can add the object marker, any marker or any particle you want, because these are just regular nouns. So you're not only going to see 전 and 후 with 에 or nothing. You also could see them with other markers and particles depending on what it is that you want to say. And you'll see some examples of that today. Also, if you're one of my Patreon members, make sure to get the worksheet for this lesson. There's an additional 14 example sentences for what we're doing. So if you want some more practice, check this out. Boom, boom. Okay. Those are available right now on Patreon. Okay, so now you know everything you need to know about how to use these. So let me give you a few basic examples. Okay, 2시, 2 o'clock. 2시 전. So 2 o'clock before. So before 2 o'clock, 에 indicates there's going to be someone doing something, some sort of action comes after. 오세요, come here before 2 o'clock. 2시 전에 오세요. That's it. That's all you need to know about using 전 and 후. I'm going to leave this up for just a second and we'll do another example. Don't worry, I only have 4 examples for this. We're going to do some with verbs though next. Once you get the concept though, it's really easy. Mom says, do you think making connections in a Korean course at university would be getting into the music industry here and then eventually moving over into the Korean music industry would be a good way to go? That could work too, although I happen to know that some music producers, not music producers, some groups in Korea use music producers outside of Korea too. So it's just, there is no right answer. There is no like pathway to becoming like a trainee at a K-pop group or a music producer or this or that. It's just how things end up happening. I don't think that there's like a best way or ideal way for that. But again, you'd be asking the wrong person for the best advice for that because I don't have advice for that. I've never done it. But from the people that I have heard who've done this, there isn't like one path that they've all taken to get where they are. So yeah, it's possible if you start there, you make connections there, then you end up moving to Korea and then working there as a music producer. That's also a pathway too. Okay. Now let's do another example. 2시간. So not 2시 for 2 o'clock, but 시간 meaning hours. So 2시간, 2 hours. 전, before. 이었어요. It was 2 hours before. Or we would just say it was 2 hours ago. 2시간 전이었어요. It was 2 hours ago. That's it. There isn't that much to this form. I'll leave this up for a minute and then I'm going to give you a couple examples with who, but it works the same way. There really isn't anything fancy about this. Where it gets a little bit tricky is when we talk about 이전 and 이후, because like I said, most intermediate people, learners I know, don't actually know how to use these. Mom says, I found out Hybe is also stationed in America. Do you think that would be easier to get into that than Hybe in Korea? I don't know. I can't tell you that. Why don't you check on Hybe's website in the US and see if they have a tab called careers or hiring or anything like that to see if they even hire anyone at all? Or check to see their staff page, see who works there, see if those people who work there are people in the industry. Like, do they have music producers that work in the US or in the UK or wherever at that office that you're thinking of working at? Because maybe they don't even hire people there. Maybe they only fly them over from Korea to work there. I don't know. Orion says, tastes more floral than lemon. Okay, then here's another option where you make lemon scones, but you use the zest from the Buddha's hand to make more of a floral fragrance, but have it be lemony sour from lemon juice. That could work too. Okay. Now let's do a couple sentences with who. You probably already get this, but actually, I want you to make the sentence because I feel like I could just give you sentences. Of course, I know how to do this. Why don't you make a sentence with who? And I want you to say this. I will meet. Let's do our friend Charsu. I will meet Charsu after 3 days. So after 3 days, I will meet Charsu. To meet is 만나다. So after 3 days is 3일. So after 3 days, I will meet Charsu. I want you to try to make this sentence. If you can't make the sentence, don't worry. I'll give it to you in a second. Erica asks, when you use 전, the particle is written next to it. Particles are always directly attached to the word, so there wouldn't be a space. 철수를 3일 후에 만나요. 철수가 3날. Oh, so days is 3일, not 날. 후에 만날 거예요. And then 철수가 would mean that Charsu is the one meeting. So that means Charsu meets someone after 3 days. But you're saying I meet Charsu, in which case Charsu wouldn't get the 가 marker. Charsu would get the object marker. 철수랑 3일 후에 만날 거예요. Okay, I'm going to meet with Charsu after 3 days. Nice. 3일 후에 철수 만날 거예요. Perfect. And don't worry too much if you get it wrong. I'll just correct you. So you get free live correction. So don't worry about it. 철수를 3일 후에 만나겠다. So you're technically correct. The 겠다 ending, though, is not used as the regular future tense, except if you're doing it with the 니다 form, like 하겠습니다, 만나겠습니다, like I will do that. So it's not used outside of formal speech when you're making a statement saying I will or someone will do something. I would recommend the 것이다 ending, which becomes 거예요 in the regular you form. But yeah, you're not wrong technically. It's just not the way they would say it. 3일 후에 철수를 만날 거예요. Perfect, 아연이. 3일 전 철수를 만날 거예요. So Nailank sentence is grammatically perfect, but what you wrote is 3일 전, 3 days ago, 3 days before, I will meet 철수. So if your name is Doc Brown, that is possible. If you have access to a DeLorean that can travel 88 miles per hour, then you can do that. Meet Charsu 3 days ago. You will meet Charsu 3 days in the past. Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't have a time machine for us plebs, then that's not possible. So you want to use who for after you will. Or 3 days ago, I met Charsu would also work. 만났어요. You could say that. 3일 전에 만났어요. 철수가 3일 후에 만날 거예요. Oh yeah, in that case, yeah, 철수 would be the doer. 3일 후에 철수 만날 거예요. Nice. 3일 후에 만날 거예요. Nice, Julie as well. Donica as well. 철수 전에 3일 만나다. So Erica, 철수 전에 is before 철수. So Valeria is asking, can we say 하루 이틀 후에? So Valeria is asking about the words 하루 and 이틀, which are the pure Korean words for 1 day and 2 days. Well, you could, but then you're saying 1 day and 2 days. So you could say like 하루 전에, 이틀 전에, or 이틀 후에, after 2 days, before 2 days, like that. If you want to do 3 days, you could use 사흘 and 나흘, but those are a little less common. They're still used by, I'd say, people who are over 50. They're still pretty common. These days now, 3일 is more common, but 하루 and 이틀 are still pretty common for 1 and 2 days. And I still think it's worth knowing 사흘 and 나흘 for 3 days and 4 days too. There are other days beyond there all the way through 30, but they're not used anymore. So let me give you one answer, although I already saw some good ones in the chat. Okay. 3일 후에. So 3 days after. So because we have a attached to here, we know that you're going to be doing something, some sort of action is happening at that time. So at the time of, after 3 days, literally, 철수, our friend 철수, 만나다, to meet. 만날 거예요. So I will meet 철수 after 3 days, literally. So after 3 days, I will meet 철수. 3일 후에 철수를 만날 거예요. So I will meet 철수 after 3 days. Okay, one more sentence. I'll leave this up for just a second. I have one more sentence, and then we're going to go on to using these words with verbs, which is a little bit more involved than just slapping this at the end of a noun. So we have to do a little bit more to make it with verbs. Brian NYC, you're using 만에, which is a good word to know. 철수를 만났다. Okay, so if you want to say before now, you have to say, 전에, it does mean before. So that's saying I met 철수 before, literally. But that's not before anything specifically. It's just before. And the time would still need to go toward the beginning of the sentence. So if you're just saying 전에 as a time, then it needs to go early in the sentence. Whereas if you're saying it as an adverb, like 3 days ago is when I met, which is describing the verb, then you use it later in the sentence before the verb. But because you're just saying it as a time, like just before the end, then it needs to go toward the beginning of a sentence. So either right before or right after the pronoun in the sentence. So the subject, whoever's doing it. Okay. And then you'll also see the words 그 전 and 그 후, literally that after. So after that. So after that, 에는 뭐 했어요? 뭐 하다, to do what? So what did you do after that? 그 후, after that. 그 전, before that. So these words are also pretty common. 그 후에는 뭐 했어요? So what did you do after that? I'll leave this up I'll leave this up for a minute. If you have any questions about it, let me know. And then we're going to move on to using these with action verbs, with verbs, because that's how you're going to see them used a lot as well. Not just with nouns, but with verbs. It's really sour. Lena asks, why did you add the nun? That's because topic marker functions like that in Korean. I don't have time for a full lesson about the topic marker today, but whenever you see the topic marker used in Korean and you don't know why they use it there, it's because okay, well, I'll make this in a really quick lesson. We do the same thing in English as they do in Korean with the topic marker, and we do it with our intonation. So in English, when you say I, like that, here's the baseline, and it does this, that's the topic marker. So after that, notice it goes above, really high, it goes high up and down below where you started and then back up. That is the topic marker's intonation. When you stick this onto a noun, you get this intonation in English. Now, it's not a one-for-one because a lot of times you'll use it when this is like, it's not really a big emphasis, but it's a little bit there. That's what you can use the topic marker for. That's the really short version of this lesson. I mean, I could expand that. We can compare it with the topic marker. We can compare that with the subject marker, I and ka, which have a different curve, different intonation we do in English, but for the topic marker, that's what it does. So you didn't have to use it. 그 후에 뭐 했어요? What did you do after that? What did you do after that? So literally after that, what did you do? Is what you get. Versus after that, what did you do? If you don't use it. So it's not that it's right to use it or wrong to use it or wrong to not use it. It's a different intonation. It's a different nuance. And Koreans are just feeling that nuance. So they might feel, oh, you should add this here because we would do that in English too. Yeah. And I've thought about that explanation for actually a few years before I've ever taught it because I'd been checking it a lot to see if it holds up. And yeah, it does. It holds up pretty good. So like I said, it's not a one-to-one. There will be situations where you'll hear it used and you're like, did you really need that intonation? But yeah, actually that is the same thing we do in English. Okay. The subject marker, however, is not. So I'll do this really quick since you seem interested in that. So here's the topic marker for our intonation. This is not a one-to-one, but this is when you already know the rules for when you use this, but you don't know the feeling for when you use it. This is the feeling, the intonation. This is the subject marker intonation. This is why you use subject marker when you're marking the person who did something or the thing that did something when you're answering a who, what, where, why, how question. Who did it? He did it. You don't say he did it, right? You would never use this when you're answering a who, what, where, why, how question because why? Well, ask a native Korean teacher. They'll tell you it sounds weird. This is why it sounds weird. It makes sense. 누가 먹었어? 내 피자 누가 먹었는데? Who ate my pizza? 철수는 먹었어. That's like saying 철수 ate it. Like you would say 철수 ate it, but he bought it. Like 철수 ate it, but that was his pizza. Sure, you can say that. Well, 철수 ate it, but that was his pizza, right? Then you could use this. But if you're just saying 철수 ate it, you have to use this because it sounds awkward to use this. So that's the nuance that we do in English. But like I said, it's not a one-to-one because not everyone uses this intonation whenever you're talking. You might just say, oh, 철수 did it. And you're not thinking, did I say 철수 or did I just say 철수? And you have to kind of expand it out. Like, which one of these would I use in English if I had to pick one? So if you do that in English, like, which of these would I use in this sentence? If I have to pick one, which would it be? And that'll help you. In which case, it'll match. But if you're just thinking like, oh, why did they use this one? And it might be a bit confusing because, like I said, we don't always make this intonation difference in English. So that's why a lot of times teachers, including myself, we teach that both the topic marker and the subject marker are valid. So if you make the sentence like, the cat jumped off the roof, right? Which would you use? Well, if you ask a Korean, they might say, the cat jumped off a roof, because you're introducing it. The cat, here's a cat and it jumped off the roof. Sure. But if you're in context, you're saying, well, what did the cat do? Well, the cat jumped off the roof. You might use this, right? So depending on who you ask and what context they have in their head, they might say this one's better or this one's better, or they might just say, oh, both are okay, but different nuances. And yes, they're both okay and they both have different nuances, but in some situations, one of them would sound really awkward. Like, what did the cat do? Would you say the cat jumped off the roof? Or would you say, well, the cat jumped off the roof? If you're already talking about the cat, well, what did the cat do? 고양이는 뭐 했어요? 고양이는, the cat did this. Like, or hey, and then what happened after that? Well, after that, the cat did this, because you don't have that nuance already. You haven't established it already you're talking about the cat. So you'll use one or the other interchangeably, and there isn't like a right answer a lot of times. If you have a sentence out of context, both of these are valid. But in context, only one of these will sound correct, and the other one will sound like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's a little awkward. I would have used this one. That's the main difference. So this might help you. This wasn't part of the lesson today, but it's something that I sometimes bring up. All right, back to the lesson. Yeah, and David, you can translate the topic marker as when it comes to. And the reason is, when it comes to, we do that in English. So if you say, well, the cat, it's like this. So you're introducing it, you're bringing attention to it, which is exactly what the topic marker does, or which is also what that intonation does, because that's how we feel it, is you hear that intonation and you automatically know what you're talking about. You know that feeling right away. Whereas, yeah, it's fine to translate it, and it's good to translate it as for, when it comes to, but that doesn't give you a feeling of what it should feel like. It just kind of gives you a way you can translate it. So either way, whatever works for you. Is this still? I think I moved this. Okay, anyway. So if you want to use this form, 전 and 후, with a verb, you have to learn a different form for 전 and a different form for 후. So first, let's look at how to say before doing something with an action verb. Well, it's very simple. You just take an action verb, you take its stem. So its stem is just the verb minus the 다 at the end. So for 하다, your stem is just 하. There are 0 exceptions to this. And then you attach 기. Now, 기 is what's called a nominalization form. Nom means name, which is basically a noun. So it's a form that turns a verb into a noun. So you have the exact same thing as you had before, where you had 전 after a noun. And that's it. You work with this form now the exact same way as you worked with 전 by itself. Now you have a noun before it, which just so happens to be a verb that was changed into a noun. So if you have 하다, now you have 하기 전, before doing, since 하기 means doing. It's a noun. There is nothing else to explain about this form, so I'm just going to give you an example sentence. No, you're going to give the example sentence. I want you to make this sentence. Before I ate lunch, I cleaned. Now, 청소하다 is to clean. It could also mean to vacuum. So I cleaned, and what is it before? Before eating 점심. 점심 means lunch. But if you don't want to say this word, you can say before I ate pizza, you can change this to anything else. But I want you to use 청소하다 in your sentence. So before I ate lunch, I did cleaning, literally, or I cleaned. I want you to make that sentence, and I'll give it to you in a minute in case you can't get it. Lim says, can we use 는것 instead of ki? No. Whenever you're using a grammar form that requires you to change a verb into a noun, it's always this ki. That's it. So when do I use 는것? When do I use ki? Well, the question you can ask yourself is, am I using this in a grammar form? Is it part of a grammar form? It's ki. Is it not part of a grammar form? Well, you can use either, but most of the time it's going to be 는것 will sound more natural. If you're describing it, you're going to use 는것. If it's a grammar form and a few other exceptions, which I talk about in other videos, then it's ki. So grammar form, ki, everything else, 는것 is a pretty simple rule. You're not going to be wrong in most cases. I see Julie also asked the same question. Same answer. Yes, you always use ki. Olivia has the first attempt. 점심 먹기 전에 청소했어요. Perfect, Olivia. Valeria as well. Nice. Lena as well. Nice. Keith. Small typo, Keith, but yes, your sentence is perfect. 청소. 점심 후에 청소했어요. Okay, I cleaned after lunch. No, Ayani, that was fine. I mean, it wasn't the before, but it was... Oh, wait, I actually didn't read the part where you wrote ton. You might have used it incorrectly because you wrote who. I can't remember what you wrote now. I thought it was good, but now I'm thinking about it again because you deleted it. I can't see it. Anyway, good attempt though. Donica, small typo for this. You want to use 청소. Jeff Young says, I've been married to a Korean for 10 years, 2 kids who speak Korean, living in Korea for over 3 years, can barely hold a conversation. Shameful. So shameful. I can't even believe you're showing your face here, Jeff. No, welcome. Bought your books on advice of a friend, subscribe, working through the beginner playlist. Nice. Yeah, you're actually not, you're not special, bro. You ain't unique. I've heard a lot of people like that. It's pretty common. I'd say the overwhelming majority of people that I know who married a Korean can't speak a lick of Korean. So if you can say like, hello, you can say 안녕하세요, and you can introduce yourself. You already know more Korean than the majority of people who marry a Korean person. But it's great that now you're working to do that. You're going to have a lot of good resources at your fingertips since you're, in a Korean family, essentially. So great. Welcome to the Korean learning journey. 점심 전에 청소했어요. Nice. So I cleaned before lunch. Again, you don't have the before eating lunch in your sentence, but your sentence isn't wrong because you said before lunch, as in before lunchtime, implying the time that you do lunch. Okay, so let me give you an example. First, I'll give you this one. Okay, 점심, lunch, 먹다, to eat. So in this case, 먹기, eating, 전에, so before eating lunch. 청소 is cleaning, 청소를 했어요. So I did cleaning, literally, before eating lunch. So before eating lunch, I cleaned. 점심 먹기 전에 청소했어요. 점심 먹기 전에 청소를 했어요. So I did the cleaning before eating lunch. I'll leave this up for just a bit, just 10 seconds, and then I'm going to go on to the next sentence. 점심 전에 주방을 청소하셨어요. Very nice, Brian. I like that you used 하셨어요 instead of just 했어요, which is good. Since you're talking about your mother, even if you're speaking casually to someone, you would still use honorifics to talk about your own parents. Unless you don't like your parents, then you wouldn't use honorifics, but usually you do to show respect. At least to show other people that you're pretending to respect them, it sounds more natural to use it. Okay, let's do one more sentence of this. Actually, I want you to do this. So 여행 is a trip. 가다 is to go. So you can say 여행, optionally, object marker. 여행 가다 means to go on a trip. So before you go on a trip, what would you do? What should you do? What did you do? What will you do? What can you do? What do you want to do? I want you to write a short sentence. Shorter is fine. You can say, before I go on a trip, I ate lunch. Whatever you want. Before I go on a trip, I studied Korean. Before I go on a trip, I don't know. What do you want to do? What are you doing before you go on a trip? Make a sentence. And I'll check them right here. 여행 가기 전에 날씨를 확인했어요. Perfect sentence, 방방. Very nice. 방방 just comes out of nowhere, drops a perfect sentence, and like pieces out. 여행 가기 전에 계획을 만들었어요. I made plans. So typically for making plans, I mean, you could say 계획을 만들다. Makes sense. But they usually use a few things. 짜다 is a kind of casual, well, not casual, regular way of saying to make plans. So 계획을 짜다. Or you can also use 세우다, which is to set up. Literally, it means to set up, like physically setting something up. But they also use that for setting up plans. So either of these. If you're making regular sentences, like practicing, I might recommend this one. But this is what you'll actually hear. 계획을 짜다, to set up plans, to make plans. I'll give you just another minute and then I'll give you the answer. Let's see. 비행기 표를 사야 돼요. Very nice, Keith. That is true. Lim says 여행 가기 전에 잤어요. Very nice. 여권을 가져갔어요. Valeria, nice. 아침을 먹었어요. Small typo for Orion for 먹었어요, but yeah, nice sentence. And then let's see. John, 많이 먹네요. 여행 가기 전에 많이 먹네요. You're eating a lot before going on a trip. That if you're like commenting to someone about that. 여행 떠나기 전에, before leaving on a trip, 고양이에게 먹이를 줘야 해요. I have to feed my cat, basically. 여행 가기 전에, small typo, Donica. 가기, not 가지 전에. 옷을 샀어요. Very nice. Although, I recommend, maybe someday I'll actually share with you my entire packing list. I have a secret packing list I've used for going to Korea for the past 18 times. I have a packing list. Maybe I'll share that someday. But I actually recommend don't bring that many clothes to Korea. Even if you're going to be there for a long time, bring okay, it'll depend if you have access to a washing machine in your room or not, in your hotel or wherever you're staying. If you have access to a washing machine in your actual room, then I can get away with 4 days of clothes. I mean, less, but it's a little bit stressful to do that. But 4 days of clothes if I have it in my room. If I don't, then 6 days of clothes. If it's like accessible but not in the room, but say down the hall or something, and I don't want to worry, then 6 days of clothes at most. And if you need more clothes than that, I recommend buying them in Korea because you can get them they're pretty cheap relative to your home country. Korean clothes are cheap and really cool. I mean, Korean fashion, ever heard of K fashion? They have lots of cool stuff. And it's pretty affordable. Even if you want like really nice stuff, you're going to spend like, I don't know, like $20 for a really cool shirt. I mean, where else would you get that? If you want some like really nice jeans, $30. If you're not getting like an American brand. So I recommend actually buying clothes in Korea if you can afford it. Anyway, it's kind of a fun thing to bring back is to have some clothes that you can always remember your trip with. And even though they only last for about a year or two before you have to throw them away because clothes don't last that long. But yeah, so I always do that when I'm in Korea. I'll get like a couple shirts or I used to get shoes there, but the brand I liked stopped making good shoes. So I stopped buying their brand. But normally I would always get shoes in Korea as well. 한국어 열심히 공부했어요. Nice, Julie. 옷을 샀어요. Nice. Okay, so let me give you a sentence. 여행 가기 전에. So 여행 is a trip. 가다 to go. So to go on a trip. 전에, before going, 가기 on a trip. 돈, money, 조금, a little. 벌다 is to earn. 벌고 싶어요. I want to earn a little bit of money before going on a trip. 여행 가기 전에 돈을 조금 벌고 싶어요. 여행 가기 전에 돈을 조금 벌고 싶어요. I want to earn a little bit of money before I go on a trip. But yeah, if enough people want, maybe I'll release the packing sheet that I have, because I've been there so many times. I've had so many trips where in the beginning, so many trips where I forgot to bring something. Actually, I sometimes add things to it. Every year I'll add like 1 or 2 things to it as well that I realized I needed. One thing that I started adding just from my last trip is disposable one-time use pillowcases, because if you're staying at a hotel, you don't need it. Every place you stay is going to have pillowcases. But if you're staying at a cheap Airbnb, I don't want to use that pillowcase not because I think it's dirty, but because that room, if the room might not have been occupied for like a few months before you get there, especially if it's like a cheaper place or someone who hosts lots of rooms, it could be like really dusty. And if you're someone who's kind of sensitive to dust and stuff like that, who easily sneezes like me, then I usually bring a pillowcase. Like they sell them at Daiso for like 1,000 won. So it's like 70 cents for a pack of like 3 of them. And it's just like a sheet of thin fabric that you can use a couple times, use it twice or whatever and flip it over and throw it out. But they're really nice to have, like a nice clean pillowcase the first night that you get there. And then if you want, you can wash theirs and use it after that. But that's another thing I also recommend if you can get it. But like I said, it's not really worth it if you have to pay a lot of money for a pillowcase. But if you have a disposable one, or if you bring your own from home, that's fine too. Bring a pillowcase from your house that you know is clean. Put it over there, then you can sleep without waking up for getting breakouts or whatever. Especially after a trip, when you have that long of a plane flight and that much time difference and your body's not eating correctly, you're eating like way too much, salty foods, and your body's all messed up or whatever. You're not drinking enough water, you're getting dehydrated, you're tired, you're sleeping at the wrong time. Your body, if you're someone who gets acne, you're gonna have a breakout. So especially if there's something like dirty touching the side of your face while you're sleeping. So that's why I recommend it. Someone who grew up dealing with acne a lot knows a thing or two about that. But yeah, so I usually do that for my trips. Okay. Just some random advice for when you're packing for your trip. I have like a really long list. I think the full list I go through is like 50 different items that I go through, but I could probably shorten it down because not everyone needs every single specific thing that I have. Okay. Now that we know how to say before, let's learn how to say after with a verb, and it's different. So before we had 전 with just the nominalization form ki. This time we have an action verb stem, and then you attach un if it ends with a consonant, or you attach a nian if it ends in a vowel, followed by hu. This form here is actually the exact same form as changing an action verb into a past tense adjective. That might sound complicated. That might sound difficult. It is not. It's not. I have a cheat sheet I just released a few days ago, which has all of the rules for changing making adjectives from action verbs, specifically for the past tense. So standard form, you just attach un if it ends in a consonant, or a nian if it ends in a vowel. But there are 4 common exceptions. If the verb ends with the S letter, siot, you have to do something. If it ends with a piup, you do something. A lir, you do something. And a tigat, the D letter, you do something. So those are exceptions. So I'm not going to be going over these exceptions for today. But if you want to know all of them and see examples of them, get my free cheat sheet. I just released it a few days ago. Now I have a total of 8 cheat sheets you can get, or go straight to my Patreon page. They're all there. Again, these are free. You join my Patreon at the free tier and you get access to all 8 of them. Or if you're able to support me, you get access to the HD versions for just $1. So, okay, but this is the basic rule. So after you do this, after you change an action verb into an adjective in the past tense, essentially, you attach who and it works the exact same way as before. So I want you to make this sentence because that's it. There's nothing else to it. I want you to make this sentence. After I finish the homework. So homework is 숙제. To finish something is 끝내다. Now, 끝나다 is something finishes. It's over, it ended, but 끝내다 is someone finishes, completes something. So after finishing the homework, what do you want to do? What did you do? What will you do? What would you do? What could you do? What do you want to do? What might you have how ist doneth? Make a sentence. And I'll give you an answer in just a minute. John says, please stop calling me out. Not me doing exactly that, and I forgot my lovely pillowcase. I actually have, in Korea, I have a separate pillowcase that I use, but I don't have access to it the very first day I arrive in Korea because it's over at my mother-in-law's place where I have the pillowcase I purchased. I have like a couple light, tripods that I use for filming, some stuff that I keep over in Korea, kind of like storage. But the very first day I get to Korea, I don't have access to that. And sometimes my Airbnbs have been really nice and I can tell like they cleaned it right before I got there. Like it's dust free. The lights are nicely on, like everything's ready. They have soap ready. It's all new, like new towels. Other times I've gotten there and I can tell they've never even done it at all. Like the place was empty for 6 months before I got there and there's like dust everywhere or fruit flies. So in that case, I really appreciate having a pillowcase that I can use the first night. I don't mind a blanket. I don't mind if the blanket's not super clean because I'm not putting the blanket up to my face. I'm not putting the blanket on my, like over my neck. It just goes on over my clothes. It's not a big deal. But the pillowcase, I really want that to be clean. 숙제 끝낸 다음에. Oh, Olivia, we're not doing 다음에. We'll be doing that though a little bit at the end of this lesson. Don't worry. 숙제를 끝내는. Okay, Lena. So remember, it's either going to be a nian, just the N letter, or un, depending on how it ends. So not 끝내는. 숙제를 끝난, and then Camila, also it's 끝내다. For when you are finishing something. 끝난 would be after something finishes or after it's over, after it ends. But if you are finishing it, you are completing it. 끝내다 is to complete something, to finish something. Okay, Keith has our first perfect sentence. Perfect, Keith. 끝낸 후에 우리 동네에서 산책할까요? Nice, Valeria. Cosma. 2개 열정. Nice. I read a book about brain hemorrhaging. Very nice. 숙제 끝낸 후에 친구랑 쇼핑할 거예요. Okay, very nice a small typo for 숙제. It should be this all E vowel, but your sentence is great. 숙제 끝내다. Oh, Brian. 끝낸 후에. For this as well. Cosmo is just flexing on everyone with the longest vocab word here so far. All right, another 10 seconds, then I'm going to give you the answer here. So go ahead and make your last sentences, and I'll check them really quick, but I'm going to write the answer right here. Let's see. Donica. 숙제 끝낸 후에 잤어요. Nice. 숙제 끝낸 후에 친구랑 놀 거예요. Very nice, Melly. Okay. 숙제를 끝낸 후. So, 숙제, homework, 끝내다, to finish, to complete. So, after finishing, completing the homework, 드라마, a drama, 를 봤어요. So I watched a drama, I watched a TV show, a TV drama, after completing or finishing my homework. 숙제를 끝낸 후에 드라마를 봤어요. 숙제를 끝낸 후에 드라마를 봤어요. So I watched a drama after finishing the homework. Let's do one more example. How am I on time? I am behind, but it's okay. Okay, 주유 is refueling. Or I shouldn't say refueling. 주유 is getting gas. 주유를 한 후에. So after I get gas, 세차, literally 세 is wash, 차 is car. So wash your car. 세차를 할 거예요. So I will wash my car after I have gotten gas. So after I get gas, I'll wash my car. 주유를 한 후에 세차를 할 거예요. So after I get gas, I'll wash my car. That's all there is to saying before and after doing something. But there's another way you can also say before and after. I don't want to remove this boundary here. Okay. And that is with the words 이전 and 이후. These look just like 전 and 후. And in fact, they have the same meaning. So 전 and 이전 both mean before, and 후 and 이후 both mean after. But these are very different. First of all, the way they're used, in that you can add 에, you use them after a noun, or if you use 이전 after a verb, it's 기 이전. If you use 이후 after a verb, it's a 니은 or a 은 이후. The way they're used is the exact same as 전 and 후. So you do not have to learn new rules or new exceptions to use these in the exact same way that you used 전 and 후. Phew. However, the way that they work is a little bit different. And I want to simplify things for you. Let me make this really simple. Actually, let me do it like this. Okay, I'm not going to be leaving this on the board. I'm just going to be writing this once. So pay attention. And I'm only going to be doing this once because I need to use the same chart for all four. Okay, so before we had the words 전 and 후, right? So if right now is here, then 전 is all of this, right? And again, if right now is here, then 후 is all of this, right? So when you say something happened before a certain time, you don't mean that it happened right at the time, right? You mean it's before the time. So this should be pretty obvious. Before is this time in the past, and after is this time in the future, and it does not include right now. If you say after class, obviously you don't mean during class. You mean once the class is over and beyond. However, both of these words start with E. This means, in the most simple way, you can think of this as meaning including. So, can you guess what this chart's going to look like? that means that 이전 is this. And 이후 is this. Now, they still mean before and after, right? There still is the future here, and there still is the past here. But now they also include whatever time it is that you're referencing. So if you were to say 2 o'clock, hu, normally with after, 2 o'clock, 2시 후. What that means, 2시 후 means just this time after in the future, but 2시 이후 means from 2 o'clock and on. And 2시 후 means not including 2 o'clock and later. So, does that feel like anything? You getting any feeling from it? Can you feel it now, Mr. Krabs? That means many times, this is really ugly now, that means many times you're going to be using 이전 and 이후 when you actually mean starting from and including whatever it is that you say for that noun, for that time, right? If you were to tell your friend, I'm free after 1 o'clock, do you mean here's 2 o'clock? Do you mean when you say I'm free from 2 o'clock that it's this? Or do you mean it's this? Think about it. There is a right answer, but if you say I'm free after 2 o'clock in English, it could mean either. It could mean, well, I'm free after 2 o'clock. 5 o'clock is after 2 o'clock. Usually, when you're saying from a time, like an actual time, usually you mean to imply right at that time and beyond. And the same goes for before, right? If you mean including up to that time, then you'd want to say 이전 instead of just 전. I'll give you another tip for this, so don't worry if it's still not quite clicking, if you're not really sure how this works. What this means is, first of all, you probably would mean to say 이후 when you're talking about I'm free from after 2 o'clock. In English, you could say after or you could say from. That means that 이전 means before and including whatever time it's used after, and 이후 means after and including whatever time that it's used after. So, 이전, before and up to a time, and 이후, after and starting from a time, if that makes sense. But the way they work, the grammar you use with them is exactly the same. You don't need to relearn any new rules. So, basically, the way it works in Korean, because sometimes we might not know, should we include the time or not? Whenever you mean something that could include the time, you want to use 이. I'll say that again. If you're saying something after or before, and you mean that you include that time that you're talking about, you should use 이. In English, we don't have to do this. We can assume the person means including or not from the context. I'll see you after class. All right, let's do a better example so it's more clear. I'll see you after 3 days. We mean 3 days from now, I'll see you, right? Not 4 days. I'll see you after lunch. Usually doesn't mean at lunch, right? It means after lunch. So we do these naturally in English by the context. Korean, you need to specify. Does it include the time you're talking about or not? So I'll give you a hint though. There's a tip. Just like in English, this actually isn't that different from English. In fact, it works the same way, we just don't always specify it. But as far as the concept, we also have this concept in English. For short times, like 10 minutes, an hour, usually you just use ton and hu because it's not really required that you're going to say from a time. Like, let me say this again. If you're using a really short time, like 10 minutes, for example, it's more common to just use ton and hu. For example, if you're going to say, I'll meet you after 10 minutes, you don't need to say in English, I'll meet you from 10 minutes from now. Like, you can be a little bit more relaxed with the time. It doesn't have to be exactly from 10 minutes. So usually you're just going to use ton and hu when you're saying like after a few minutes or before, 5 minutes or whatever like that, because it's not necessary to specify and including that time when you're just throwing out a really small number, something that's insignificant. So if you don't really care, just use ton and hu. So a lot of times for short things, like if you want to say, hey, I'll see you in 5 minutes, you're not going to say 5분 이후. Like, does it have to be? Like, do I need to come to see you in 5 minutes? Like, can I come 7 minutes? Can I come 20 minutes later? No, after 5 minutes and going onwards. So for short numbers, for short times, you're going to use just ton and hu. So that's a little tip. Other times though, whenever you mean a time and it includes that time, you should use 이 before ton and hu. So if you understand this, if you feel like, oh, this makes sense, well, congratulations. Most people don't know this, I found. Okay, let me give you an example sentence. It might make a little bit more sense when you see this. Christina is saying, does 이 translate as the word this? No, it's not the word this, although I don't think it's even from the same hanja. I'd have to check though. It's possible it could have come from the same hanja. Let's see. It might have come from the same hanja originally for how they write it, but it's not the meaning of this though. It's definitely not the meaning of this. It's the same word. Actually, if you want to know more about that hanja, it's the same that's used in the word 이상 and 이하. So 이상 is a word that means 상 is above in hanja and ha is under. So, wait, this way, sorry. So these are how you say a number and above, and it includes the number. So if you say like 세 명 is 3 people, 세 명 이상 means more than 3 people, but it also could include 3 people. So 3 people or more. And if you use 이하, it also includes the number, or 하, meaning less. So 상 is more, ha is less, so literally up or down for 상 and ha. So these are also other words that use that same hanja, and that's the same in 이전 and 이후 as well. It just means including that number. You can think of it like that. Although literally it doesn't mean including the number, but that's how it's used. Okay. So let me give you an example sentence. 다섯 시간, 5 hours, 이후. So again, including, so from and after, 부터. So from, after 5 hours, and including right at that 5-hour mark, 만나다, to meet, 만날 수 있어요. So I can meet you from 5 hours from now, is what this means. You're not just saying after 5 hours, from after 5 hours, I can meet you. You're saying from 5 hours from now, from that time, and including right from 5 hours from now, I can meet. If you were to just say 5시간 후부터, so this would be 5 hours after from, that would not include after 5 hours, right? It means, just like I gave the chart, it means later than 5 hours. So here's 5 hours later. It doesn't mean after 5 hours. It means sometime later than that. So when are they talking about? If they say, I can meet you after 5 hours from now. It sounds a little bit vague, doesn't it? Why would you tell someone, hey, I'll meet you 5 hours from now, but not 5 hours from now? Why would you say that? So most of the time, you're going to be using 이 with 전 and 후 because you're going to be meaning this time. If it doesn't matter, if it's something where it doesn't matter you include it or not, like for example, lunch. Do you need to include during lunch? No, you mean after it, in which case you don't want to use 이, right? Does this make sense? Because you tell someone after 5 hours we can meet, you mean after 5 hours. If they set their watch to 5 hours, it includes that time, right? You're not saying after that, like, no, I'm still busy at that time, but after that is fine. Because you mean it could include exactly on that time, you need to use 이. So you would say 이후부터 5시간 이후부터 만날 수 있어요. So I can meet you from 5 hours from now, and including from 5 hours. Hopefully this is kind of making sense. If it's not, I apologize. I need to learn how to teach better. But hopefully this kind of makes sense. I know it's a little bit complex. If you've never learned 전 and 후, this could be really complicated. But hopefully if you've learned it before, this maybe might click a little bit. Okay. This is a bit more of an advanced sentence. If you want some more beginner level sentences, there are more in my worksheets. You can get these worksheets from my Patreon page right now. There's an additional 14 sentences for today's topic. Okay. You can also use 이전 and 이후 by themselves, just like 전 and 후, as we saw. Corona, that's what we would call COVID. They call it corona. Corona 이전. So again, here's corona in the center. So it includes that time when there was COVID and before, right? You're not saying before COVID and then everything changed and then it's like this. You're saying, no, including the time of COVID and before. So before COVID is how you translate it. 그랬을지 몰라도, even if it may have been so, don't worry too much if this is above your level. This is more of an advanced level sentence, but just focus on this part at least. If you can get the 이전에, then you're fine. So even if it may have been like that before COVID, right when COVID started and before, 지금은, right now, 달라요. It's different. 지금은 달라요. So even though, or even if it may have been that way before and until COVID, it's different now. Unrelated to our lesson, but note, there are two nuns in this sentence, two topic markers. 이전의 는. So this is before, right? Before, and again, 지금은, now. So that's why you can add multiple topic markers to the sentence because it gives that emphasis twice. So even if it may have been that way before COVID, it's different now is what you get. Which sounds fine in English. You can understand what I mean by that intonation. And the Koreans would feel the same way. They'd be like, oh, okay, you're pointing it out with that emphasis. If you translate it as for, before COVID, it may have been that way, but as for now, it's different. That also logically makes sense. But if you understand it this way with the intonation, you might be able to internalize the feeling of it a little bit better. Okay. There are a couple more concepts we still need to do. There are two more words you should also know, 직전 and 직후, which also mean before and after, but this time, well, that's really messy. This 직, though, means immediate. Like right away. So immediately or right before and right or immediately after. These are used in the same way. So if you have a verb, you would do 기, 직전, or here it would be with an un or a nian, 직후. The way they're used is the exact same way, but now they have that extra meaning of immediately before, or immediately after, right before. And these are also fairly common. There's nothing else you need to learn about this. This is it. I'm going to give you an example sentence, but just take a second to write these down. Zandria says, 너무너무 행복해요. 토요일에 휴일이 있었지만 아직 쉬는 날이에요. It's still my break day. Nice. Keith says, but wouldn't 5 hours and 1 second be just who? Yes, it would. But the issue with that is, while you're correct, it could be vague because the person listening hears that and they think, so when? Right? Because you mean after. So obviously it doesn't mean at 5. They might think, oh, maybe they have a class at 5, or maybe they might finish late, something like that. But if you want to tell someone when we should hang out, when we should meet, and you want to tell them a time, you're going to tell them when you have time. So you might say from 5 o'clock, I'm free, or after 5 o'clock and including 5, right from 5 o'clock, I'm free. Or you could say after 3 days, I'm going to work on this project. You're not saying exactly at 3 days. You're just saying at least after 3 days. So you pick which one is going to be more accurate to what you want to say. Do you want to include that time that you're saying or not? And a lot of times you do, especially if it's for things like when you're telling a person when you're going to meet or when you're going to do something, because you mean right as soon as it's that time is when I'm going to do something, or maybe talking about the past. I did something up until this time and then I stopped. That's when you would use 이전 versus just 전. Okay. But again, anytime you feel like it makes sense to say including that time, use 이 before it. 전에? 수업 is class. 수업 전에. So before class, 도착하다 is to arrive. So I arrived, 도착했어요, before class. 수업 전에 도착했어요. Fine. 수업 직전에 도착했어요. I arrived right before class. 수업 직전에 도착했어요. So I arrived immediately before class. That's it. I'm not going to give you other sentences because the way this works is the exact same as 전 and 후, as well as 이전 and 이후. They all work the same way with the same grammar form. So if you can make it with one sentence with 전 and 후, you can do it with any of these other forms. 이전, 이후, 직전, 직후, like that. All right, I'll leave this up for just a minute and then we're going to go on to the last part of this lesson. Melly asked a question, would ihu be used for since? I mean, you could translate it that way. So like, let me think about this. If you said it wasn't like this before COVID, then you could say, you could translate this as it wasn't like this since COVID. If you mean before that, then you could say since. So yeah, there could be situations where you want to translate it as since, but literally it doesn't. It just means before. Okay. One more thing we need to talk about. And someone in chat actually wrote one of them. So at least one of you knows what I'm going to say. There are two more words we need to talk about, and that is 뒤 and 다음. Now, these do not mean after, literally. 뒤 means behind. And 다음 means next. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. See you next time. So this means next and this means behind. But these can also be used just like 후, but not in every situation. So first let's talk about 뒤. 뒤 can be used in the same way as 후. So you can use it after a noun, like after an amount of time, or you can use it with a verb, like 하다 becoming 한 후 or 한 뒤. And you could also add particles to it, just like you could add particles to 후. So you can say 뒤에 or whatever like that. So you can think of these as equivalent when you're talking about the time something happened. If you're saying after, both of these work. Now, the difference is that 뒤 has a slightly less formal feeling than 후. So if you're trying to speak like officially or you're giving a speech, definitely I'd prefer this one. If you're just talking with your friends or just having a regular conversation, then 뒤 is fine to say after. Either one is fine. So let me give you an example. (10분, 10 minutes) 뒤에 봐요. So let's see each other literally. Let's see after 10 minutes. Let's meet after 10 minutes. 10분 뒤에 봐요. Now, I should note you can't say 이 뒤에 like you have 이후. If you need to express including that time, you just have to use 이전 and 이후 again. But for 후, you can use 뒤 as well. It's really common. 10분 뒤에 봐요. See you after 10 minutes. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a second. Otherwise, though, you know 뒤 from the postpositions. I have actually a cheat sheet about all of those. Yeah, here we go. This is another cheat sheet that I made, and 뒤 is in here, right here. 뒤 means behind. So you can say he's behind the door, or the cat hid behind the house, or it's behind the box, anything like that. 뒤 is used for that. Okay. Next, we have 다음, which means next. 다음 can also be used to mean after, although literally it means next. But this can only mean after with action verbs, which means you can see it like this. So you take an action verb stem just like before and you attach 다음. So it works like 후, but only for action verbs. You would not use this to say 10분 다음에 봐요. No. But you could say 하다 becoming 한 다음에, after doing something. Literally what you're saying is next after doing something, but it works in the same way as 후. So you can also use it like that to say after doing something. Literally next after doing something. Let me give you an example. Actually, this is our last sentence. I want you to finish this sentence. 양치 is to brush your teeth. 양치를 하다 is to brush your teeth. So 양치를 한 다음에. So after brushing my teeth, or after you brush your teeth, what should you do? What did you do? What do you want to do? What will you do? What hast thou done? What do you want to finish this sentence with? It can be simple. It doesn't matter. You can do something really simple if you can't think of anything. I just want you to make the sentence yourself. Diane says, can you use it for behind schedule? No, you would say, literally, you would say you're late. I feel like these are good words to know as parents. Ask me after 5 minutes. It'll be done in 10. Tell me before it's due next time. Yeah, you could use these all. 10분 뒤 알려줘. 10분 후에 알려줘. Yeah. 10분 뒤에 끝낼게. 10분 후에. Like that. 양치를 한 다음에 잠을 잘 거예요. Nice, Olivia. 양치를 한 다음에 자야 해요. Nice, Camelia. Yeah, I expected when I said this that several of you would just write something about sleeping. Fine. Good. If you wrote that, you're writing a good sentence. This has been a good sentence. Cosma, 양치를 한 다음에 달콤한 걸 먹을 거야. I'm gonna eat something sweet. Oh, small typo, Cosma. It should be ko 예요. Although it is pronounced as 에요. 양치를 한 다음에 아침을 먹을 거예요. Nice, 아연이. Donica, 양치. 한 다음에 자세요. Okay, sleep after you brush your teeth. Though, if you're telling someone with honorifics, you wouldn't use 자세요. 자시다 to sleep is not a thing. So you could just say 자요, sleep after you brush your teeth. But you wouldn't use honorifics to your kid. If you're telling him, brush your teeth, sir, and then sleep, and then head is to bed, it would sound awkward. So yeah, you don't want to use taseo or whatever to, actually the word taseo itself doesn't exist. It does exist, but it's not used. You would actually use 주무시다, which is a separate verb for honorifics. And I have separate episodes about honorific speech. Valeria, 양치를 한 다음에 문을 담갔어요. Oh, 문을 담갔어요 for I. So Valeria, you wrote 물. You wrote that I'm locking the water. I think you meant 문, locking the door after I brush your teeth. If you're locking the water, must be some really special water. You put like a tamurse, you put a lock on your faucet so no one can turn it. You don't increase the water bills. They think the water comes out of the walls or something. 양치를 한 다음에 샤워를 해요. I'll take a shower after I brush my teeth. Nice. Kai Led, take care. Be sure to watch the VOD and finish my notes. Nice, nice. Thanks for coming again. Thanks for your, you're actually our producer today. You're a major sponsor of this video. Keith, 양치를 한 다음에 출근했어요. Nice. Perfect. Cosmo says, I got used to saying AO. You know, I write AO too. I just wouldn't write it to my Korean teacher, but I write it too on purpose. Because if you write it, Yeo, it kind of is like writing perfect English to your friend. It's like, are you trying too hard? So yeah, sometimes people will do it on purpose wrong, even if they know the right way, just because it seems a little bit less strict. It seems more like you don't care about your writing. Kind of like not putting a what's the word? Punctuation on like don't. You just write DONT without a punctuation there, without the, what's that little word? Apostrophe. That's the word I couldn't think of. Whereas you should put it there, but if you don't put it there, it makes it look like you cared less when you wrote it. So it could be okay for your friends. 양치를 한 다음에 세수를 해요. Nice, Natty. That's actually the verb that I used in this sentence. I meant turn off the water. Okay, you'd use 끄다. 끄다 is to turn off, and 켜다 is to turn on. Okay, so after I brush my teeth, okay, 양치, brushing your teeth. 한 다음에. So after I brush my teeth, 다음에 again, 후에. 세수 is literally, 세 is wash, 수 is hands. So it means wash your hands, but this is used to say washing your face. Or you would just say wash up. Hey, go wash up. So I'm gonna wash my face after I brush my teeth. So after I brush my teeth, I will wash up. 양치를 한 다음에 세수를 할 거예요. That is it. Gonna take a thumbnail image. I gotta do the YouTube face. I gotta do that YouTube face. What is the YouTube face where I do like point? Maybe that. Okay, I don't know. One of those I'll use for a thumbnail. That is the lesson. Really quick. Make sure to get the new cheat sheets that I just released a few days ago. There's one for changing descriptive verbs into adjectives and action verbs into adjectives. So what we did today was changing an action verb into an adjective in the past tense. That's what it is. And it's all here. All of the rules for all the verb types that have exceptions are all right here. That's it. It's not that big of a deal. And same with descriptive verbs. So how to do it in all tenses, as well as ton, which is more of an intermediate level concept. These released for free just a few days ago. You can get them right now on my Patreon, as well as the other 6 cheat sheets I've previously released too. And next Sunday, there is no live class, but I will be putting something together. So we'll do a live stream. We'll like practice doing something together. I don't know what concept it'll be. I'll figure out something. We're going to do practice together, but it won't be like a lesson. There won't be an outline like we normally do. And there won't be like a abridged version of the video as well. Or maybe, yeah, there won't be an abridged version of the video, but, and next Sunday, also note that daylight savings time starts for us in the US. So the time the stream starts, depending on where you are, might change an hour. So keep that in mind. Starting from next Sunday, that's going to change. Other than that, that's all the announcements I have. I'm going to stick around for like 20 minutes. Yeah, I'll stick around for 20 minutes answering questions, and then I'll take off. And then I'm going to go watch the Oscars. Normally, I don't really care. I didn't see most of the movies. I never see most of the nominations. But this year I got to see it because it's Conan. I normally don't care unless it's Billy Crystal. I'll watch the Oscars if it's Billy Crystal. But I'll watch it this year because it's Conan O'Brien. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how he'll do, but I'll definitely watch. 오늘도 수고했어요. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions you have for the next 20 minutes. John asks, doesn't 뒤 mean ago? No, it literally means behind, but it's used to mean after. Jayla is asking, I've been wondering where I can find more of your beginner live videos. So I have I'll post it in the chat actually. Every live stream class that I've done, not including bonus live streams where we just kind of practice stuff, but the classes I just posted in the chat. So if you click that, it'll show you every topic. And if you click them, you can see what level they're for. But really, every class is for every level, although there are topics that I label, like this one's beginner, technically. But even though it was beginner, there were topics in here for intermediate, like Ijeon and Ihu are totally intermediate, not beginner topics. As well as 직전 and 직후 are also intermediate. 뒤 and 다음 are like kind of low intermediate. So yeah, there isn't any lesson that's only for beginner or only for advanced, but you can find stuff there. Or if you don't know what you should learn, I have a free beginner course that I'll also put in the chat. Let's see. Courses. There we go. I just posted the beginner course also in the chat. There will be a link. There we go. And you can start there if you don't know where to start. And also free. Walter asks, what is 괜찮아? The way you wrote it, I thought this is like a Spanish word or something. 괜찮아. 괜찮아 or 괜찮아요 means it's okay. 괜찮아요. 괜찮아요. It's okay. Oh, so Cosma, you're asking the difference between ane or an and man. That man you're asking is not the only man. There's another man, but you're not asking about that. So I'll just pretend you you don't know what I'm talking about. So I'll only focus on the first one. Man can mean also in only. So it's just man. There's another mane though, but you're not asking about that. So in only 10 minutes. We'll just keep it at that. But yeah, there is another mane which is used, or man which is used after a time, which means in a certain amount of time, as in nothing, it hasn't happened in that amount of time. So it's been a certain amount of time since something's happened. You also use man after that time. So it could mean in 10 minutes, as in it has been 10 minutes since I've done that. So I haven't done it in the past 10 minutes. So it's been 10 minutes. In 10 minutes in that sort of meaning. But it also could just mean man in only. So in only 10분 만에 다 했어요. I did it all in 10 minutes. In English, we also can say in for two meanings. In Korean, you can do it too. So it's not really vague. You'll always know by the context which in it's referring to. And then on would be within. So encompassed in that amount of time. No more, no less. Grenty asks, did you mention 고 나서? In this lesson for beginners? No. There actually are a lot more ways to say after or before. And those will be in an upcoming course that I'm working on, which will have everything. But no, those are more specific cases. Because there would be a lot more forms we could cover. But then this lesson would never be over. We'd be here for 4 hours, not joking, if we did all of them. Kamala says, can I use T like in 1 hour? Well, in English, we say in a time to mean after a time, right? Right? It's weird. We say, I'll see you in 10, and then you come 15 minutes later, right? Or, or 10 minutes later. But in Korean, when you say in, it means within, less than, in. If you say 10분 안에, whatever, you mean within less than 10 minutes. So if you don't mean within, you don't say 뒤 in Korean. So that's a different way that we use the language than Korean does. So if you said 뒤, it really means after. It doesn't mean within an hour. Like, oh, I'll see you in an hour. It doesn't mean in an hour. It means after an hour. But we still, in English, we say in. 숙제를 하고 나서와 숙제를 한 후에 차이가 무엇인가요? So this lesson is not going to have talking about the 나다 form because there are actually several. 고 나면, 고 나서 or 고서, and 고 나니까 or 고 나니. Those are different forms. I cover those in a different live stream. If you check out the Google document that I posted, you can search for 고 나서 and you'll find I did a lesson about all of those. That's after completing. So the nuance is completing. So it's not just after doing, but after having finished, after completing whatever. Carly says, I'm having trouble booking KTX on the CoRail website. I tried different browsers. It times out. The charge doesn't go through. How do you book outside of Korea? I've never booked outside of Korea, so I don't know. The way that I do it, I actually don't ever book through the website or even the app. The way that I book for, unless it's like going to be for a special day that I know is going to be really, really crazy crowded and I need this exact time on this KTX, then I will book in advance. And the way that I do it is I actually just ask my friend to do it and I bring them cash because it's easier. Because you need to what they can do is they can just screenshot their phone after they book it and send you the QR code and it works fine. You don't need to have it on your own phone. You just need the QR to book it. Because you'll need to have a Korean bank account to do it for some of them. Or you have to have the app installed on your phone and have a card that they accept and then do it that way. But I found that the English version of the app at the time wasn't as easy to use as the Korean version. It had fewer features. I don't know if they've updated that since. I would just say get the app. So I use let me show you. I use the app called CoRail Talk. CoRail Talk. T-O-K. CoRail Talk. You can't really see it. I'll just write it up. But what usually I end up doing is just going to the station and buying a ticket in person. Because I'm someone who likes arriving extra early anyway. So I go extra early and I say, hey, I'm trying to go here. What do you got? Basically. And they're like, okay, well, we got this. I can say, oh, do you have any KTX? Do you have any ITX or whatever? And I'll just get whatever I see. Because sometimes you can book a ticket, but it's like a really, really busy time or it's a really, really busy train. And you might want a less busy train if you're not in a rush. But if you do need to do it through an app, this app will work. I just don't use it outside of Korea, so I'm not sure if there are issues with that. Or I just do it in person. The lines are not long. You can also do it from the ticket machines at the stations. So if you are in Korea, but you need to buy a ticket in advance, just go to any subway station that has a KTX area at it, and there will be machines where you can buy tickets for future dates. So you can do it on their machines. And if their machines don't work, go to a person and say, hey, I want to buy this ticket, this time, this day, going here to here, and here's my credit card, and they can do it as well. So you always have a backup. Oh, hey, Czech Rambles. Thank you, Czech Rambles. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. 선생님 감사합니다. Really appreciate all the lives and effort you put into your Korean learning content. It's so helpful. Thank you. Appreciate it. I paid, this real life stuff. I paid taxes the other day. So I was not feeling too good last week. But at least for this year, taxes are done. So it's always a lot of stress. Arthur asks, do you leave these live streams recorded on your channel? Yes, they all are. How good is diction in understanding bad Korean? Can you rephrase your question, Walter? John asks, is it okay to just stick to one way of saying something like the whole before and after? Yeah, they'll understand you. If you don't quite get it, if this is your first time ever learning about 전 and 후, just use 전 and 후. They'll understand what you mean. Now, if you want to be more specific, you need to know how to learn 이전. You need to learn how to use 이전 and 이후. But if you just want to say before and after, they will always understand you if you just say 전 and 후. Mom asks, can you recommend a random essential grammar form? What kind? What kind of grammar? I have so much. Carly says, I downloaded the Corel app. It's horrible. So I use the Korean version of the app. In the app, there is a switch to use English and a switch to use Korean. The English, at least it was as of 2 years ago when I tried it, was horrid. It had no features. It was like a button, like start or something like that, and nothing. It was really hard to use. I switched it to Korean, though. It has everything. So maybe that's the issue. I don't know if they updated it, so I can't tell you because I haven't used it in so long. If you're referring to that, if that sounds familiar, then try it in Korean. There's a setting for Korean and English for the app. John asks, can you do one-us on your next Korean analysis? So for the Korean analysis, I pick based on what people want to watch from a list of groups that have been suggested to me over the years. And I don't know what people are going to want this next time. So I'm going to have to do some sort of vote first to get ideas. And then the most common ideas I get, then I'm going to put them to another vote. Say, here are the options. Here are the most common ones. Pick one. And then that vote I will probably make available through my Patreon page. So if you want to be one of the people who helps pick the groups that I do for the future, you'll have to be a Patreon member. But I have no clue who the next group's going to be. I have no idea. I hear some people suggest some groups more than others, but then I don't actually know if that's going to be the group that gets picked. So with ATs, it wasn't ATs originally. People were suggesting other groups a lot more often to me. But when I actually made the vote and let people vote on which one they want, they all picked ATs as that was the winner. So I never know who's going to win. But because those videos take so much of my time, I don't take regular requests for it, or it's not possible to do every group. Also, people have asked me to do groups like NXT or something. I don't know. There's like a group with like 1 million members, and then 17, which has like 17 members or something. I don't see myself doing those groups only because of how many members they have. It probably would take like 6 months to make. But if people keep voting on it, if people end up voting on that, then who knows? Yeah. Mikey says, self-employed, you get to pay it all at once. Yes. Although I do pay quarterly. Otherwise I'll have a penalty if I don't. But yeah, it's you just pay it all by yourself. So it's horrible. It's horrible. They take so much of my money. I would pay so much less if I had a regular job, but because I'm self-employed, nope. Carly says, thanks, Billy. I need to make some friends in Korea. Make some friends before you go. Before you go to Korea, make as many friends as you can and meet up with at least a few of them while you're there. It's always going to be a better trip if you have someone to meet. Even me, like, I don't need a Korean person. I don't need no Korean. I don't need no Korean to go to do stuff in Korea. I can do anything I want. I can get into the jazz clubs. I can go to the street alleys, the places that you don't normally go to. I can go to all that cool secret stuff. I can go to, clubs, not like bar clubs, but like group clubs of like people who hang out and do stuff, because I know how to do that. I don't need a Korean to help me with that, but I have much more fun when I meet with my friends. So get friends. I mean, even if you can do everything by yourself, doesn't mean you want to. You don't want to just walk around like in silence alone in Korea. It'd be really boring. You'd be sad. You're like, well, this is cool. I'm having all this cool food, but there's nobody to spend this time with me. So you got to have some friends you can just hang out with. NCT, that sounds right. I was getting it confused with NZT, which I think is the fake pill that they take in that movie Limitless, right? Am I remembering that correctly? I think that's what it was. Which was a cool movie. They also made a TV show, which was it wasn't that great, but it wasn't bad. But they canceled it after one season, which was bad because it was okay enough to get a second season. We never got an ending to that story. We'll never know. Melly says, I finished your Korean Made Simple Book 1 and workbook. Nice. It was very helpful. Book 2 is already purchased and I'm getting ready to start on that. Nice. Metric says, ILLIT is 5-member girl group. That would be nice. I've been doing boy groups for forever. It would be nice to do a girl group again, but I don't think people are going to let me. I think most of you who are watching, want the male groups. So, okay, I guess that's what's probably going to happen. Lexica says, come on, carrots, let's make this happen. Is that the name of fan group for, which group is that for? Is that NCT members? Xandria asks, what's a polite way of telling someone the English saying on their t-shirt is wrong? It hurts my... So, you don't want to do that unless it's someone that you know, because they could feel kind of embarrassed if a stranger walks up to them and says, hey, your shirt says this. And then now they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like they might feel like they made you upset. They might just feel really embarrassed about it. So I wouldn't do that unless it's someone that you already know. But if you know them, you can just say, this means this. 이거는 something 란 뜻이에요. Like this means this. Literally, it is the meaning of this. Let me give you a really quick thing you can slap onto the end of your sentence to say, it means this. So this 이다 you'll conjugate like 이에요, 입니다, 인데요, anything like that. So 이란 뜻 is a quoting connector. So this basically is like putting quotes around whatever you say before. So if you say something 이란 뜻이다, 뜻 means meaning. So this is the meaning of quotes. If you want to say it's the meaning of, like, your t-shirt means apple. 사과 란 뜻이에요. It means apple. If you want to put here, so hopefully this makes sense right now. So this 이란 actually just comes from the 이다 verb also. 이다. So this is the meaning of it is, quote, apple is literally what you get. But you can just remember as 이란 뜻이다. Or if the verb you're using here is not 이다, if you want to say not that it means a noun, but it means a verb, it means something happens. Like 없다, like maybe someone has a t-shirt that says no pizza. 피자 없다, right? 피자 없어요. If you're using a verb, you're not saying just a noun, but you're saying there is no pizza. Someone has a t-shirt that says no pizza. Then, I'll just write 없다 first because I don't have space. Then you won't use this form. You would just use, well, you could say 없다란 뜻이에요. 피자가 없다란 뜻이에요. You could say that too. Or you can use it as 단 or 다는. That's another option that you have. So you could use 이란 with verbs. Again, it makes everything into a quote. So 피자 없다 난 뜻이에요. It means it is there is no pizza, quote unquote. Or it means there is no pizza. If you don't want to have it as a separate part, but like put it together in the sentence, then you can use 단 or 다는, which basically would be 없다 나는 없단 or 없다는, either one. 없단 뜻이에요 is also okay. But simpler, if you just want to not worry about like the different versions of it, 이란 will get you there. 이란 뜻이다. So this means whatever. Speaking of pizza, I actually had pizza for lunch today. Because Domino's, this is not paid promotion, they had a special that ends today, which is any pizza, 10 toppings, at least here in LA, for $10, which is ridiculous because I can make a big pizza for 10 toppings. So of course I got it because that would be like a $40, $50 pizza for $10. So yeah, I did that for lunch. Fed my whole family for $10. Yeah, can't get much better than that. Toxic Now asks, how are the taxes? Okay, so I'm only going to answer another question and then we're going to stop for today because I do want to see how Conan does at the Oscars. At least I want to watch the intro, but then I have to edit this video as well for tonight. So I have a lot of stuff to do today. Toxic Now asks, how are the taxes in South Korea? I've never paid taxes in South Korea because I don't do the tax stuff over there. I don't earn money over there, so I don't know. I can tell you though, whatever their taxes are, you don't pay tax on your regular, like sales tax is, except for some large purchases, sales tax is included in whatever price that you're paying. So when you go to the restaurant, when you buy stuff from the store, you don't pay tax on top of what it is. If it says it's 1,001, you pay 1,001. You'll look at your receipt and the receipt will show a lower price than 1,000 and a tax that equals together to the price that's quoted for you. So if you go to the restaurant, it says it's 5,001 for this hamburger, you pay, it'll show on the receipt like 4,800, whatever, and then the rest of the tax, and then the total 5,000 exactly. So it's really nice. You do not have to pay for your sales tax there because there is sales tax, but businesses pay that. There is a large tax for inheritance that I know. So if you have a relative that passes away and leaves you money, there's a larger tax on that. If you transfer money outside of Korea to another place, there's a tax for transferring out your money from Korea. There's some taxes like that, which can be quite high, but you get a lot for what you're paying. So, I mean, I have considered moving to Korea more than one time because of how cool a lot of the stuff there is. Not just healthcare in Korea, but transportation there is incredible. Like I said, food is great. You can get full on less than $10, which is incredible. It's so nice to be able to, you don't have to cook. If you want, you can cook to save money, but you could also go out to eat and you're not spending a lot of money either. In fact, it can be cheaper to go out to eat than it is to cook at home because they can get bulk, all of the ingredients in bulk, and they sell them to you for a fair price. So it's like, do I really want to cook? I have to buy all this stuff to cook, or I can just go out and it's much cheaper and faster and easier and they clean up and it tastes better. So yeah, it's not that bad though. Okay. I'll take one more question and then I should go for today. And Zandri was asking about shirts also. Those are the shirts that I buy when I'm in Korea. Is I buy the ones with garbage English on it because they're fun. Okay, any other last questions for today? Just again, another reminder, Sunday is daylight savings time, so the time might be different for the next stream. And then one last time, these are free. Get the worksheets. Sorry, not worksheets. These are the cheat sheets for this lesson. Sorry. Well, they do apply for this lesson, but for this week, you can use them for this lesson. And there are more cheat sheets coming out soon as well. You can expect another 2 within a few more weeks. Maybe. Let's see if I can show those off. Do I have that? Oh, I can't remember which one's next. Okay, maybe not yet. I won't show you yet. I can't remember which 2 are next. I have to check. Okay. I think that's good for today. That's enough for the lesson today. Thank you everyone for coming. And again, special thanks to everyone who helped support Sammy Head, KI Led, Kai, as well as Kai for Jeremy, and Chakaramblas. And I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. I just realized I got other comments, but it didn't show them on here. It didn't show any of the comments on my tablet. So I'm going to read really, really quick. I feel bad. I just went to my computer and I saw, oh no, there were a few more comments. I couldn't see them, but I see them right here. Really quick. The real treasure was the friends made along the way. Yes. The pill was based off a real pill. That's right. I had heard that. But obviously that real pill doesn't exist. I mean, from the movie. Tongbu usually is used in North Korea. Yes, that's right. You don't use that. It's used like comrade. Carrot is 17's fandom. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm a guy group stan. Sorry, Billy. 가족이 어떻게 돼요? Used to ask how someone's family is doing. No, that is asking, tell me about. Any of the 어떻게 되다 questions are basically tell me about this. So 취미가 어떻게 돼요? Tell me about your hobbies. 연세가 어떻게 되세요? Tell me about your age. 가족이 어떻게 되세요? Tell me about your family. It literally, how is it composed is what you're asking. UK is good like 2. Okay, yeah. UK also has that too. How similar Korean word order to Japanese word order? Nearly identical. Though if you use Japanese word order, there are going to be many cases where people say you sound like you're speaking Japanese. It's not the exact same, but yes, very similar. And okay. Thank you for taking. Okay. All right. Oh, and what was your dream job as a child? Well, that depends. I wanted to be a writer a lot. I also wanted to be a scientist. There's a period where I wanted to be an archaeologist. The very first thing I wanted to be, I think, was a firefighter when I was like maybe 5 years old or something. Okay, now I'm gone for real. Okay. But what if... No, I'm just kidding. Okay, bye, everyone.